So welcome back to Rufus Duck Adventures. Today we have a trekking pole tent, and this is the Tenplay camo version of the single pole trekking pole tent. This is how it comes in this polyester green bag, which is like a roll top, and I have I'll quickly measure it now. It's about, I've got it down to about 300mm long, and it's about 150 round, if you will, kind of like this sort of shape. 150mm round and about 300mm long when it's all tucked up. The bag's really quite long. It actually extends all the way out here, and you can pack this kind of longer and thinner, so it's got that flexibility in its bag, which I quite like actually. Okay, I'll just pop this on the weighing scales now. This is as it comes out of the factory, as it were, and I shall put that on there. And this comes in at 1366 grams for the camouflage version. I'm actually told that the green version of this tent is actually 970 grams as advertised on the website, but this one, the camo, isn't, nowhere near. There's 400 grams more. Anyway, I'll open this bag up and we'll have a look inside. So here you go, this is it, wrapped up. It comes in has a nice little strap that ties it up nice and tight, and that is the bag, and it has some instructions in there as well. And like you see, it's quite long. I've got that kind of like that, but you can make it longer and thinner. Anyway, I've got the pegs in here, so I'll just pull them out and show you those. So there you go, there's the camouflage colour, as you can see, and these are the pegs, 12 of these, and these are 9 grams each. They have a little hole to put a string on, and then they haven't done that, but as you can see, they're a 3-way kind of like star shape, and they're quite smooth. So I actually found that when I was pulling them out of the ground, they were really nice and easy to clean the dirt off, which I quite liked. But the bag that they come in is it's monumental. Look at the size of that bag. So I'll be replacing that huge bag with something a little bit lighter. Yeah, that's that. That's the green there, and as you can see, we've got these like guy lines and stuff. Anyway, I will put this tent up and we'll have a look at it. Okay. So first thing you want to do is peg it down to the ground, and I've just pegged it down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pegs in there, and it has these quite like long lines out to your peg, and you want to make these about as long as you can. It helps with the setup and the air ventilation through later on. So pull these right out. I might replace these with bungee cords, but I'll see how it goes for now. And as you can see, there's that lovely camouflage colour. It's like a orangey brown tiger stripe with a little green fleck in there. I quite like it actually. And I'm obviously going to use my Euro Hike trekking pole there to set it up with. Okay, I'll push this up now and we'll take a look at it. Right, so there you go, tent is up, and it needs another final peg just here, so that's 6. The 2 at the ends, 1 at the back and 1 at the front, so that's just up on 6 pegs. You get the 12 in total, and they're obviously for the guy lines, and there seems to be like 1 spare, which I found a good use for. So yeah, look at the colour of that. What a beautiful colour. I really like it. One thing I will say right now is I like the way it sits at the front. You know, when you're thinking about lanchans and stuff, you usually have a huge gap underneath it, and this one comes down quite close. You can hunker it down a little bit, or you can leave it up in the air. I've set my trekking pole is set to 125, and I had a little play around with it the other day, and I find that is actually about the nicest sort of like height for it, and that just gives you this nice little bit of ventilation underneath here. And because it's a single skin trekking pole tent, you want to maximise that ventilation as much as you can. So as you can see here, this just comes down onto the same peg, and I've left there. I quite like these pegs. Look at that. There's a little bit here. If you leave it sticking up in the air, like I've done there, try and get that in there one-handed. That's tricky when I've got the tension on it. There you go. It creates that little height there, and gives this. And obviously these are on those lovely little quick release tensioners. This line's a little bit heavy. I might be swapping that out for something a little bit lighter. And obviously these are the guy lines. The guy lines coming out of here, and they pull out. And instead of coming like from here, like the Lanchans, they actually come off the actual seam lines, which I quite like because there's 4 of them instead of the Lanshan 3. But when you put a little bit of tension on them, where your head is going to be here, it gives you plenty of headroom inside, and we'll look at that in a minute. But as you'll see, no guy line point on the back. But I don't have a problem with that, because quite often when you're camping, wild camping, you want to stick the back of your tent maybe up some rocks or a wall or something like that, and having big guy lines that have to come out all the way out here can restrict that. So I mean, I've got my hedge here at the moment, but it's quite a nice line. It doesn't, you can see the line back there, it only kicks out a little bit, and then there's nothing projecting, so you can tuck this quite nicely up to walls and hedges and things like that. So that's quite a nice little feature, and it seems to be well sturdy. Vent at the top, up there, little vent there, Dyneema kind of strengthening points on the corners, not there, doesn't have any. Another reason that there on the Lanshan's that's really hard to waterproof, doesn't need it, has it here instead, so that's quite cool. Yeah, so that's the look of it. I mean, this has got a really long guy line here that pulls out. I don't like these tensioners. These are aluminium. I'll be swapping them out for some proper line locks, I think, and they're on all 4 points. Anyway, I'll unzip this tent. It's not top zipped, there's only a bottom zip, it doesn't top zip down, but I don't mind that too much. Okay, I'll zip it up and we'll have a look inside. So the bottom of this is on a couple of, look like about 3.5mm bungee cords onto that peg there like that, and then these, your zippers, I don't know what they're made out of, they've got this bit of cord, it's the same as the guy lines. It's black and it's hard to see, and it's really long, and it's quite a heavy gauge, so I'll be swapping them out for something a little bit more suitable. One velcro at the bottom, one here, and it pulls up to there quite nicely, and this will then roll back onto this little toggle here, and as you can see, I've got my my inner door zipped back at the moment, and it's quite a large sort of space. Anyway, I'll just tie this up and we'll have a look. So this has a loop on the outer and a loop for the inner, and then in the middle is your elastic bungee. So both of them come onto your elastic bungee, and you take them on and off as you see fit. Anyway, looking through at the vestibule, this is about 700mm wide. It's really quite large, and like I said, that gap underneath there is probably about 4 inches the way I've set it at the moment. But as you can see inside, I'll just put that there. As you can see inside, you've got that ventilation point that runs all the way around, give you ventilation up and through. And if you set this tent too low, that kind of all collapses a little bit. But if you set it up at 125, it kind of lifts it up and lets it breathe properly quite nicely. And yeah, it comes with a little silly little pocket at that end, kind of waste of time, but yeah. And then there you go, these are the doors, roll back up in there, and they roll up out of the way quite nicely. I quite like that. Okie dokie. So I've just put my tape measure on it, and as it says on the specs, it is 2.3 meters long, one end to the other, a meter wide in the middle from here to the back, and 800 across the ends there, 800 at head end and foot end. And I've got, like I said, it's 1.25 high, but you always need about 900mm to sit up in comfortably, and 900mm comes about here. So from this point here across there back to this point here, and then obviously I'll just swing around this way, and then across here you've got this 900mm space. So you've got, this is about 300mm here, 200mm, so you've got quite a large sitting up space, and that's because it's a single skin. You know, you have an inner tent in this, and all that material will be hanging down here, reducing the area. So it's actually pleasantly quite large in this area, in this tent. I quite like it. Moving through onto the inside. Oh, let me just measure that vestibule while we're here, so we know exactly what it says. Yeah, there you go. 700mm. Obviously you might want to, you know, a bit of a gap there, but usable space is at least 600. Yeah, it's good. I'll just show you this now. So this has a little eyelet that can go around your trekking pole, but one of the things I quite like to do with the trekking pole is move it out of your way. I can move that here or over there, yeah, and what that does is it means sitting here gives me a lot more space, makes it easier getting in and out. I can still get to all my equipment. Again, with my T-doors, that means I can leave my bags here. On a summer's evening when there's no bugs around, I'll just leave this open and use the whole area. Why I like to set this like that is means if this picks up in the night and it gets a little bit saggy, you can go like that and put a bit more tension on. Oh, it's still a bit saggy. Bit more tension. You don't have to mess about trying to change these settings. You just pull the pole up and it just, look, if I move it down there, it drops a bit, and if I move it up here, it gets tight a bit. It's simple. Do it that way. Don't be playing with that. Yeah, it's good. I like it. Alright, a little lie down. So, I'm 5'10". I'm in a nice position at the top. I've got all that space underneath my feet. All this space up to my right. I could put my dog in here, no problem. All my bags, bits and bats, loads of space. Yeah, this mesh is pretty cool. Sits up quite nicely. The little bathtub comes up about 4 inches, sags down a little bit in a couple of places down there, but I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. Yeah, I haven't pulled those guy lines out yet, but when they do, this pulls this up quite nicely in these two directions. In fact, I'll do that now. I'll just pull the guy lines at this end and you'll see how it pulls it up and away. So there you go. I've got those two guy points out now, and that's given me lots more room for the feet. Feet on the pad, boots on, still loads of room. Set, and then same the head end. No guy here, you can't pull this point out, but this is quite steep, and doesn't seem to be that much of a problem really. Sorry, somebody walking past. Yeah, it's nice. So, little features. It's got a little hanging hook here and a little mesh at the top, and then the doors when they roll down, which I shall do now, again just untoggle that just drops out. There's my zipper again with one of those huge bits of string, so they'll be being replaced. And then obviously that's my T-door, and that's my little vent at the top. It's all taped. It's all single skin, and it's all taped. I will point this out now. Some of the taping up here in this really tight little corner is already coming away, but the rest of it on the main runs seems okay. So if that does prove to be an issue for waterproofing, I will be probably sealing it up from the outside. But yeah, nothing too drastic at the moment. But it's a shame that this isn't a mesh, because when you're sleeping in it, you might want this closed. It's a bit of a shame that you've got this solid wall. It makes it feel a little bit more claustrophobic than a mesh would. Having said that, and I thought that was going to be a problem, it's actually really quite wide across here. That I think it's less of a problem than I thought it would be. And I guess with that gap underneath there and the wind blowing through, you got that ability, and obviously these gaps here, you got that ability to stop air passing straight through the tent and making you cold at night by having a solid piece of material here. So maybe that's not a bad thing. Obviously you got that little mesh up over the top. So yeah, I mean, if it's not buggy, I would probably just leave that wide open. Obviously what you can do with this tent as well is there's a little loop, just throw you out there, little loop up on the top of the tent, and you can get rid of your trekking pole completely, and hang it from a tree, and then this whole area is then wide open, which is a lovely, that's really wide. What is it, 1 metre, 700mm, so that's 1.7 metres across the width there, 2.3 metres long. It's without that pole in there, this is a really quite a large area. So that's a little thing. There's a little loop there that's supposed to go around your trekking pole, but like I said before, I like to move it around. So my last peg, I use my peg on that, and that just gives the tension across there to the other peg that's going out that way without securing that, you'll pull that and you'll pull the ground sheet this way. It also means if it's windy and it's blowing this way, without a securing point there, though, that lot could billow up in onto you. So that helps secure that, which is good. So that's the basic view of the tent. It's advertised as 970 grams with a 20D nylon, and I believe the green version is that, but this camouflage one isn't. It's nearly 1.4 kilograms heavy, which is a disappointment for a single skin tent. It should be a lot lighter. You know, if you compare it to like the Landshine Pro, that is sub 1 kilogram, and this one is significantly more. But I like the camouflage colour. I think, and I don't know for sure, there's a few little different bits of information. One review says it's a 70D polyester. It's not polyester. This is not a polyester. I know what polyester. That's polyester. This is nylon, but it's not 20D nylon. And if it is, it's covered in so much waterproofing, and it feels really waterproof. This is really kind of thick, that it doesn't feel like 20D nylon. To my mind, it feels more like about 50. It's a lot heavier gauge, and that'll be where the weight difference comes in. And but that might not be a bad thing, because one of the things that do happen with trekking pole tents, as we all know, they get a bit damp and they stretch. And a polyester trekking pole tent is actually better because they don't stretch and sag like a monster when in the morning. And I have a polyester trekking pole tent, and it doesn't sag. This being a heavier gauge might not sag as much as a really thin one. Proof will be in the pudding. So yeah, I quite like it. A bit heavier than I thought it was going to be, but I think still usable. Nice space inside. Seems pretty well put together. There's a few loose threads here and there, and there's a couple of little bits that could be, you know, could have been finished a bit better. But for, what was it, £80, $79.99, bit of a bargain really. I am going to make it a little bit lighter. I will be swapping out some of these guy lines. I like the pegs, I've got to keep them. This heavy gauge line here, I've got to swap that out for something lighter. The bag, I don't need that peg bag that's in there. So I could probably get about 50 grams out of it. That'll get me down to about 1.3. It's still going to be a 1.3 kilogram tent no matter how I slice it. But yeah, I do like it. So how do I see this tent being used? Well, I see it being used as a summer tent. It's single skin. We all know condensation inside single skins is not that great, but depending on where you take it and when you take it, if you use them in summer and you're a little bit high and there's a little bit of a breeze through on a warm summer's evening, there's no condensation, and that applies to all tents. So pick your times and your places, and yeah, you can manage that condensation in there easily. It's stealthy, as you can see. Like I said, you can hang it from a tree and give you that extra space. So if you want to take it into the woodland and camp in the woodland, bit of stealth camping, I think you'll disappear completely in the woods in that. Brilliant. But even in the open fields, that camouflage is going to really kind of take the eye away from you. And the shape of it, a pyramid shape, it's not a natural shape in the environment, but it doesn't look. Squares stand out a mile. Perfect circles stand out of mine, but something about a pyramid doesn't. So it's quite a nice option for that. But yeah, lightweight, long distance, stealthy camping. That's summer. I wouldn't take it in winter. I think it'd be cold. But yeah, I think it's a great option for all those things. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this review. I'll leave it there, and I'll get out in it hopefully soon, and we'll bring a live update from the trail. Okay, ta-ra for now. Bye bye.